Good morning, staffers. In our past videos, we talked about this amazing credit called the Work Opportunity Credit. An amazing credit that is lucrative, that for some of you will mean hundreds of thousands of dollars and some of you even millions of dollars in tax credit. But today we're going to talk about how to claim that credit on your tax return. Let's get started. Good morning, staffers. In our past videos, we talked about this amazing credit called the Work Opportunity Credit. And for some of you, we talked about it's going to be worth thousands of dollars. Some of you, it's going to be hundreds of thousands. Some of you that are really scaling, it could be potentially millions of dollars in tax credit. And today, we're going to talk about how you can claim this tax credit on your tax return. But before I get started, I want to take this opportunity. I don't want you to miss a single video that we're going to put out in the future. There's a button at the bottom of your screen called subscribe. Please click that as well as the notification button so that you don't skip a beat. Let's get started. So staffers, in this video, we are going to talk about how to claim the Work Opportunity Tax Credit on your tax return at tax time. So in our previous videos, we talked about exactly what is a targeted group that is allowed, that would make you eligible to claim the credit. And we talked about there were different groups, including the disabled veterans, including folks that were on long-term family assistance or TANF, individuals that were on SNAP, that were vocational rehabilitation referrals, as well as ex-felons. And we also talked that the empowerment zone credits were those had expired in 2016, so those are no longer in effect. But still quite a few folks that would qualify under the targeted group. And we also talked about how the dollars were significant, that if an employee worked for you for at least 120 hours, so 3 weeks of their full time, there's a minimum credit. And for some of these credits where you've got a disabled veteran, they can be quite a bit, like $6,000, up to $6,000 in credit if they work for just 120 hours. And if they stay with you for more than 400 or 10 weeks if they're full time, $9,600. So definitely not a small amount of change. And if you're placing quite a number of people, these dollars literally multiply over time. So definitely very much incentive and power within this credit to do good work and give people a chance that wouldn't normally have a chance. So very, very good. So let's talk about how to apply for the credit. So to apply for the credit, you are going to complete the form 5884 to apply for the credit. And this is a form that you can download directly from the IRS website and literally be able to complete that form. Now, I will advise you prior to participating in the Work Opportunity Credit that you contact your tax advisor, your CPA, to make sure that the tax law hasn't changed, because tax laws do change. And even though the credit has been renewed for 2020, sometimes there are changes that can happen. So definitely stay abreast of things as you're making decisions. But this is the form. And so what you can really see is it really depends on the number of hours that that person is with you if they belong to a targeted group. So if they're with you for between 120 hours and 40 hours, so or 400 hours, you can claim up to 25% of their wages. And there is a dollar amount cap, which we just talked about. And then if they're with you for at least 400 hours or more, then you can claim up to 40% of their wages. And then different targeted groups have different amounts that you can claim too. So then definitely this form is the form that you're going to be completing to actually claim the credit. Now, we did talk about prior to claiming the credit that you have to also have already receive the certification of the 8850 back from your state workforce agency. So that is critical. And you'll definitely want to revisit the other video regarding completing the 8850 and what procedures need to be in place in order to get that certification approved, because you will need a certification. Even though you're not required to submit it to the IRS, you will need to have that within your records over the next 3 years after you file your tax return, just to prove that you did have eligibility for this credit. So one of the other things that you're going to want to consider with the 8854 that you're completing is really just a few things here. So again, before you complete this form, you want to make sure that you've already been certified with your state workforce agency. And you can get the name of your state for workforce agency and their address by going to the IRS instructions for the form 8850 to download that for yourself. But really, that's going to pretty much be the basis of your certification. And the wages that are eligible for consideration of the credit are going to be the same wages that are subject to your federal unemployment tax. So if your wages, and this, of course, this exceeds the $7,000, this is your total amount of wages that you report for your FUTA wages, that would be considered for that. So definitely much larger than the $7,000. That cap does not apply. And so any wages that would be subject to FUTA would be, or considered FUTA wages, would be allowable from a credit standpoint based upon their percentage allowable. And if you do get subsidies such as Social Security Act, supplementation payments, that's going to reduce the amount of credit that you get. And also for your employee who's part of the targeted group to be eligible for you to get this credit, you have to make sure that the employee didn't work for you for at least 100, that the employee worked for you for at least 120 hours. So if they were less than 120 hours, they were 119, they are not qualifying employees for the credit. You also have to make sure that the employee didn't work for you previously. It wasn't someone that you had hired and let go, or they left and they came back. They have to be brand new to you. The employee cannot be your dependent. So you cannot hire your children to be part of the targeted group. And also they can't be related to you. So if they're your sister, brother, mother, father, that's not going to qualify for the credit for you. And 50% of the wages that the employee received from you, it has to be at least 50% of the wages has to come from you as a source of employment. So quite a few things that you're going to have to consider with that. And you're going to want to make sure that your wages do not include wages paid to any employee during the period that you receive payment for an employee from federally funded programs. So the federal government is paying for you to hire this employee already. No double dipping allowed on this one. It can't be for wages that were incurred for a designated community resident performed while the employee lived outside. And actually, there is no such thing as an empowerment zone targeted group anymore. That ended in 2016. So that's not going to apply for you anyway. As well as the summer youth program, because that was also an empowerment zone type of credit too. So that's not going to work. And also you can't have just hired that person during a strikeout or a lockout in your business either. So these have to be true positions that you're giving someone a chance to be able to really rehabilitate their lives and get back into the workforce is what these are for. So definitely this is a great credit for you. Remember to fill out the form 5884, which you can download from the IRS website in order to obtain this credit on your corporate return. And on the personal return, you would actually complete this form also. And you would also be able to take a general business credit if you have a flow-through entity. This would just roll up to that. So hopefully this was a helpful video for you. Please subscribe if you like this video, because I definitely want to include you on other tax saving strategies that we're going to be talking about throughout the year. So I look forward to seeing you again. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.